Wanted to pick up where Ike left off. Thanks for taking the time. As Mike mentioned, I've been in the event industry for some time, and putting together roadmaps is an important place to start. And particularly with virtual technology, it's an emerging technology. Still, not a lot of people are familiar with it. And we know that Becky here, who is the event director for the two major events that the IFPA hosts, she's got a nice healthy budget, but she's starting to see new needs. Members are looking for more value. International members want to better connect with the organization. There's a real need to take content and frankly leverage it. One of the interesting things that's happened all these years with events is we've put all this time and effort into these incredible events. And after 3 days, everybody goes away, and so does the content. What an under-leveraged asset. So the best place to start with your event and your event portfolio is just simply capturing content. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It's anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a day for capturing streaming content, whether you deliver it live or you deliver it in archive. So deciding, what kind of sessions to stream is a starting point. What's most important to the audiences that can't make it to your event? The international audiences, for instance. How do I provide live streaming for my members economically? Well, there's a whole host of resources, many of them here, during this week, that are available to stream content, and AV firms, and a lot of interesting resources that way. There's always the fear here of, well, what if it discourages my physical attendees? It's going to cannibalize my show. Well, we actually have proof that it can not only not cannibalize, it can actually contribute to your physical attendees. We've done a number of events where we actually did some research looking at who attended virtually, how likely they were to attend physically the next year, and we then had the benefit of doing that same research a year later and actually finding that in one case in particular, 34% of those who attended virtually said they were more likely to attend physically. And sure enough, the subsequent year, those numbers proved out. It was about 31% were virtual attendees from the year before. So if you use virtual to start the conversation, you can actually use it to drive your audience to your physical event rather than cannibalize it. Well, can I do this with my current resources? Well, the short answer is yes, but it's a stretch. And we actually encourage people to reach out. There's a lot of agencies, there's a lot of resources out there. The same ones that can help creatively are actually doing some very interesting experience design in terms of integrating the physical and the virtual events together. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. We took a quick look at this and wanted to sort of put it to you in the context of sort of a value chain, a virtual value chain, if you will. And everybody knows content is valuable, right? Content's why we come. Content's what connects people. And it starts with that. That's what drives conversation. If you're really doing your job well, people here are moving from conversation to collaborating together on things. Whether it's in a learning session, whether it's on a project, whether it's part of a committee, that's really valuable. When you start to do a lot of that and you really build momentum around a community, people they collaborate, they're working together, they feel a sense of purpose, giving them an opportunity to gather in a regular environment online actually can be a very powerful way to provide member value and get them engaged. And at the end of the day, helping your members conduct business is really the best value you can provide as an organizer of a show. And another under-leveraged asset that many of us have is the vendor directory, right? Which right now is a listing, and it's occasionally then it turns into a show floor and then it goes away. Why do these things all have to go away? Turning it into a 365 marketplace where people can conduct commerce, in fact, better than ever because they can talk to their peers about who's buying what and what works. And so your peer-to-peer socializing your organization can become a powerful way to help people do business on a show floor that lasts year-round now. So video creates a connection. Social tools drive conversation. Games and learning drive collaboration. And active programming, keeping that content coming, is what makes a community healthy. So I wanted to just leave you with what we recommended for the strategy for this particular organization. We first of all recommend they start simple. They pilot a hybrid event with their first major conference. That they start by finding a streaming education sponsor. You know, a lot of people don't want to necessarily throw money at something that's untested within their environment. So finding a sponsor to help support that initiative is a good way to start to defray the content capture costs. Then adding a virtual component to your current sponsor packages, just a little incremental charge that gives them access to the online community and allows them to light up their environment throughout the year, and potentially turn that into a virtual vendor marketplace so that the show floor now becomes something that people can come back to all year long. Not just at showtime, but when they're actually ready to buy. And light it up. Bring that show floor to life through RFP days so that you're able to not only educate people around different categories within that marketplace, but you give the vendors a real opportunity to engage with their prospects. And then finally, and sort of the most important part of this, is then taking the content that you've captured from these major events and put it together with existing learning programs to create a year-round learning destination that allows you to, again, provide greater member value and utilize all that content that, frankly, has been really under-leveraged. And you can do this pretty economically. I mean, if you add up all of the cost of technology, you can do a hybrid event for under $10,000 from a technology perspective. You add to that the cost of content capture and doing it for 1 or 2 meetings. You have a range of costs involved that ideally are defrayed by your initial streaming sponsor, maybe your education sponsor. And then just even in a very basic pilot format, there's some significant new revenue opportunities there through sponsorship and ultimately through the 365 marketplace. So that's our quick 4-step strategy. And some of the features. How are we doing time-wise? Yep. All right. In terms of the environment itself, it can be as simple or as elaborate as you would like. Typically, you'll have a registration login. You may have a networking lounge at your event, much like you do here. Something we call Social Suite, which literally brings LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter into the environment, much like you see, by the way, in the PCMA 365 environment, where I don't have to leave to see who from my LinkedIn community is there. And if they're not there, maybe they should be. I can invite them. So I can use Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter to engage my communities and share with them my experience online. A resource center for learning, where we can potentially tap into existing learning and educational programs. A prize center to encourage the kind of behavior that you'd like to see in people, whether it's rewarding them for downloading content, viewing sessions, all kinds of things. And then from a hybrid perspective, making sure that we sort of tie in the key parts of the program. The auditorium, where the content is delivered. The show floor, so that my sponsors really feel connected virtually and physically. And even potentially meeting rooms or breakout rooms, where you can continue the conversation online that's happening in sessions all around the event. So just from a structure standpoint, these are some of the features you can design into your hybrid event. And then you can make it look as different as you'd like. You've seen a very different example in the PCMA hybrid event here. What you see here is a very simple environment, strongly branded, delivers content and navigation in a very simple way. Recognizes sponsors in a way that's a little different. and also presents them with the opportunity for their own booth to host their content and to tell their story and to meet their prospects. And there's lots of interesting examples of organizations, large and small, doing this. Starting with the United Way of Cincinnati, that used a very modest hybrid event to launch their campaign and help them not only engage more corporations than they ever, but they exceeded their financial goals by a significant amount in fundraising by engaging corporations actively, virtually, before they had their live event. So that's my story.